This is George from High-Tech Legion. In case you've missed the happenings of the last, say, 18 months or so in liquid cooling, Acetech was granted a U.S. patent for self-contained liquid coolers with the pump built onto the CPU block. Once they got that, they decided they were basically going to go Apple and Samsung on everybody and decide to sue everyone. Now, of course, a lot of that was posturing. They did come to terms, of course, with Corsair, did some distribution through them to take the heat off of Coolit. The smaller players either had their own patent rights or really weren't of much of a concern. It wasn't until the Swiftech H220 came out that there really was a problem. The H220 represented something entirely new. While the pump was on the block, it was a real honest-to-goodness liquid cooling loop. Much higher pressure pump, higher flow, of course, as well. Copper brass radiator, as well as, rill tubing. So, you had actually what was essentially a small loop built into what looked like a CLC. Of course, this caused a big problem because now Acetech had a unit on the market which was only a couple dollars more, offered better quality components, absolutely top to bottom, every aspect, and also offered better performance with a lot less noise. So, naturally, Acetech took upon Swiftech to threaten them with legal battles. The H220 left the shelves. And Swiftech basically responded with hey, that's okay, we're working on something better anyway. That something better debuted at CES this year, and we're getting our first look at it now, the Swiftech H220X. Now, of course, aside from the component quality and the performance, one of the big draws of the H220 was the fact that it's open loop. That carries over into the H220X. It's not a closed loop cooler, so it does come pre-filled. It's ready to go out of the factory, but you can add components to it. In other words, it is a small loop that is pre-assembled, pre-filled from the factory. You don't have to fuss, no muss if you're a novice. Just plug it right in, good to go. You're going to get that top level performance, but for down the road, if you're looking to add a GPU, another radiator, whatever you're looking to do, it's going to be ready for it. So first, let's get a quick look at the box. Nothing much to see here. Of course, very nice looking box with the Swiftech logo. Nice picture of the unit itself. And it does say here, basically, in essence, yeah, it's great for novices, but for the enthusiast, it's also the start of a small loop. And that's exactly what it is. It is full, small loop components built into one easy package. It is compatible with LGA 1155 and 2011 right out of the box, 775 and 1366 with an available adapter from Swiftech, and AMD, AM2, AM3, FM1, FM2. So let's get the box out of the way and get a look at the unit itself. Now let's take a look at it component by component. First off is a 240 millimeter solution, so dual 120 millimeter fans. As you see, a little bit of an odd look to it because the pump is no longer on the block, what you're used to seeing with a CLC. When you turn it over, you've actually got an MCP30, a real live pump here, built onto the radiator itself with a reservoir right here with a fill port. Got nice look in for the reservoir fill level, so you can always see if you're low on fluid. Easy enough to fill right there at the fill port. So everything is built in right here, pre-assembled, like I say, with barbs, nice rotating barbs built on. They can be changed over. They are G 1/4 inch, so standard fittings can be used. So, you've got great flexibility here. However, the pump out does require an adapter if you're going to change that fitting. It's 3/8 1/2 tubing on there out of the factory, so you're probably going to stick with that size anyway. Not a big deal changing that one fitting. Now let's look at the individual components. Like I say, you've got the 240 millimeter radiator, copper brass construction. Why is that a big deal? Copper is a much better conductor and dissipator of heat than aluminum, what you're used to seeing in a CLC. So you're getting a top flight, top performance radiator. You've got an FPI of about 11 fins per inch, possibly a little bit more. So it's going to be low restriction. So at lower fan speeds, you're going to get better performance. You're not going to need those really high fan speeds you're used to hearing with a CLC. So you're going to get top flight performance from the radiator itself. Topping them off is two 120 millimeter, 1800 RPM Helix fans, which are PWM controlled. They're built for low noise, high static. That's what's important with a radiator. You don't necessarily need a ton of airflow as long as you're getting enough static pressure to get the air through the radiator. That is very, very important. A higher flow, lower pressure fan is going to just get tied up in the radiator. You're not going to get good flow through. These are built for a radiator, and they do a very, very good job at very low noise levels. Now, moving down, we saw the reservoir, as I said, very easy to use. Fill port right here, pump MCP 30. It flows a little over a gallon a minute and has a little over 2 meters of head pressure. What that means is you're going to get good flow if you're adding components. You've got plenty of pressure also to add components. So if you want to add a GPU block and another radiator, not a problem. It'll add right on. The pump can handle it. Not an issue whatsoever. It is PWM controlled once again for speed, and also uses a separate SATA for power. So that way you're not trying to draw power from your PWM header for the pump itself, which would obviously burn up your motherboard. Moving down, like I say, you've got the black 3/8 by 1/2 inch tubing. Very, very nice looking tubing, like I say. It's only about 10 inches long, so that is a concern, especially if you're going to try and mount up front. If you're mounting up top, not going to be a big deal. Now you move down here, and what you've got here is the Apogee XL water block. This is Swiftech's flagship water block. We recently reviewed it, got a High Tech Legion Gold Award. It is one of the top water blocks on the market. Uses all copper in the contact plate, 110 copper, with a micro pin design inside. It is not directional, so in and out can go either way. If you do want more information on the block itself, get down to the real nitty gritty. I definitely suggest you check out our review on the block itself. But just know, in our performance test, it tested as well as any other block on the market. This is truly a flagship block. Now, one of the nice things also being you've got an LED backlight in the block as well as the back of the reservoir, so you can see how much coolant you've got in there. Also, definitely gives some eye candy. But the block itself comes with a color change kit that we're going to take a look at in a second. Comes with blue out of the factory, so you've got a blue Swiftech logo that lights up, but also can be changed to basically any color you like. So what you've got here, when you take a look at it, you've got a flagship water block. You've got a very, very nice small pump, great for a small loop. You got your reservoir, you've got a top quality radiator, and you've got two great fans. You've got a small loop of all top quality components in a single box. Comes pre-assembled, ready to go. Getting a look at the accessories, of course, start with the install manual. As you can see, really, really well illustrated, very easy to follow, huge pictures, and of course, broken down into each individual socket. And as far as also the color plate replacement, and very important, radiator orientations, obviously going to be an important thing. You can go across the top, you can go side to side. You cannot go on the bottom. This is not bottom mountable. So you can do the top, either side, not a problem, but it cannot be bottom mounted. Moving on from there, obviously it comes with the LGA 1150 kit on it, but moving from there, you've got your Amd kit, which is included, socket 2011 kit, all of your fan screws and mounting screws for the radiator, small tube of Timmate, thermal interface material, and finally, the PWM splitter. This allows you to connect 8 PWM devices to the one splitter, which is powered by a SATA, and will work off of one PWM signal. This allows you to run your fans as well as your pump off the same PWM signal. Channel 1 marked in red here and also marked here is what gives the feedback for speed. So if you plug a fan in channel 1, you'll have your fan speed as the sensor. Plug your pump in, you'll get pump readout with the sensor. Now, also, you get 3 color plates. As I said, it comes with blue installed. You get a red, get a white, you get a green. Looks a little Christmassy, but also the white can be colored with a marker, any color you like or any type of ink. Just make sure it's something that's going to be high heat and permanent, so you can match up any color you like. Changing it out, very, very simple. 4 push pins in the block will pull right out. As you can see, you will need a screwdriver to get them started, but pull them out. Plate will come off, and you may actually need a screwdriver to get the plate off as well, or some type of tool. And let's go right into the pinhole. Don't want to scratch it. Pop out the front plate, and as you can see, blue is in there, comes out very easily. And it would be much easier with a smaller screwdriver or even one of the push pins. We'll go to a smaller screwdriver so we can grab it by. And there you have it. And of course, the others go in just as easily. And put it back together exactly the opposite. Just pop it right back in. 4 holes will line up, push it into place, and faceplate will go back on. And the 4 pins go back in. Just that easy to change color. Really good looking in the case. We'll get a look at that in a minute. Now we've seen the accessory kit, we've seen the mounting kit, so now let's take a look at how it goes into the case. We're going to start with the radiator mount. Typically, easy way, go in, up to your 240 millimeter, or I should say 120 millimeter fan location, and you would just put in your fan screws from the top, and you're mounted. Now, this particular case and motherboard combination only has clearance for 25 millimeters, the width of this radiator, so I'm actually going to have to do a sandwich mount with the fans up top and the radiator on the bottom. So I'm going to remove the fans, and I'm going to be using the extra screws provided for that type of mounting in this mount. As you can see, once we've got everything into place, what you're essentially doing is taking the longer screw, dropping it through the fan, through the case, to the mount in the radiator, and screwing it down. Now, you don't want to over tighten the screws, you just want to snug them up. You want the radiator held snugly, but you don't want to over tighten and risk puncturing anything in the radiator. So be very careful with that, and just get it lined up, snugged up, and we can move on to the CPU block. I've gone ahead and applied the thermal interface material. Now we're going to get the back plate into place. One thing you might want to notice, you'll see here it appears that this is a flat surface. If yours appears flat and it's a little floppy in there, you're just going to want to push this retaining ring down, get it tight, and you can see you'll get a pop up there, and that will actually go through the motherboard. Make sure all 4 are like that. Nice and tight. You've got 4 pads. Actually, your adhesive, you could take the adhesive off and stick it to the back of the motherboard. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that, nor did I ever find it necessary when using this. So you get your back plate into place. Make sure you line up the 2-hole pattern with the holes, or I should say the screws in the back of the socket. And you can just push the back plate into place. And it will actually stay there very, very well. Just with those little stickouts that you saw. Now next, block itself. We'll get the wiring a little untangled here. You do actually have a 3-pin coming off the block. That is for the LED in the block. So that is only for the light. That's not going to power the pump, anything of that nature. And we'll get that out of the way. Always remember, take off your plastic off of your block. And you can see you get a nice polished look there. And you're going to put your back plate, or I should say your block, into place. Line up your first screw. Get it started. And work your way around. You just want to give them a little bit of a tightening just to get them started. You don't want to tighten them all the way up to begin with. And once you actually have all 4 started, you can then work your way around, tightening in the next pattern until they're tight. There is a stop on each of the screws, and it will stop when it's tight enough. So you don't need to over tighten there. Once again, once you feel the stop, you just stop. Okay, now time to do the wiring. As I say, you've got the 3-pin right off of the LED, or I should say off the CPU block for the LED. That'll go to the nearest fan header. Now, moving on, you've got 3 PWMs. You've got the 2 fans and your pump. We're then going to wire them to the PWM splitter. Simply plug them in. I'm going to use the pump as number 1. I'm going to get pump speed feedback rather than fan speed in this particular instance. And they will wire up to the PWM splitter. The splitter then will plug into your motherboard CPU fan header, the 4-pin PWM there. To give the PWM signal to the splitter. Now all that's left, 2 SATA power connectors off the pump and off the splitter, and you're good to go. And finally, all installed in the case, you get a fantastic look. As you see, you get the blue glow from the Swiftech block, as well as the glow from the Reservoir itself. But really, just a good-looking unit in the case. Nice-looking tubes, as you see, and they're nice and short, so they actually, come across as being cut to length. Plus, the rotary fittings make things a bit easier in getting the block situated, as well as getting your tube situated exactly as you want. So now let's throw some heat at it and see how it performs. Taking a look at the benchmark numbers, starting with stock. Obviously, you've got some top tier coolers here. Stock processor speeds really aren't going to do it as far as, pushing these over the top. Performance is very good, very consistent across the board, of course. Also with the top coolers. Moving over and dropping the fans down so that everything stays below 40 dB. Again, at stock speeds, we really don't see anything change much here. Very good performance across the board from all the coolers. Swiftech H220X leading the pack by a tiny bit. Moving over, and actually getting a little heat into the CPU, we bumped it up to 4.4 gigahertz, 1.206 volts, and we see the Swiftech really come up big here. Taking about a 4-degree lead over the next closest competitors, I should say 3, actually besting the Cooler Master Glacier 240L by 3 degrees. With significantly less noise, about 25 dB less. So that's, a huge performance to noise ratio gain there. And just the performance to noise on the unit's absolutely outstanding to begin with. Now, turning down the noise a little bit, getting everything below 40 dB, as you can see, it really hurts the Corsair H100i and also the Cooler Master Glacier to a certain extent. But you see that the H220X mainly unaffected, stays at the top of the pack, so you've got some great performance to noise there. Really the best in class. So fantastic showing from the H220X as far as performance. When the H220X was shown at CES last year, or I should say this year, it generated an absolutely incredible amount of hype and buzz. And, people have been waiting for it with really bated breath since the day it was debuted. Was it worth the wait? Well, yeah, absolutely. There's no question about it. The H220X is really a very, very special unit. First off, it's beautifully put together. It is the build quality and the design is absolutely phenomenal from start to finish. Every component is absolutely perfect in it. You move on from that, aside from, the fabulous engineering, the fabulous way it was put together. You look at it, it's a great looking unit in the case. You're getting, the LEDs, you're getting Swiftech's flagship CPU block along with it. That's $70 alone. That's half the price of the retail of the unit. And, you throw in on top of that, you're getting the rest of the small loop, and a very, very well-equipped small loop. Not, just throwaway components. You've got, a good pump here with good flow, decent head pressure. You can add components. It's open loop without a problem. You've got a very, very usable reservoir right here. Very easy to check. You've got great fans that come with it. Top quality radiator. So, you're really getting a phenomenal unit. Now, you look at the performance. Especially the performance to noise. It's phenomenal. No question about that. Nothing comes close to it. Out of the box, I very safely say it is the best out of the box assembled cooler you're going to buy. It doesn't even matter, what you're looking at, air, CLC, anything else. Even the 280 millimeter CLCs just keep up with it, and they do it with so much more noise. You're talking about another 20 dB. People may say, well, noise doesn't really matter to me. That's a lot to be giving up is over, 20 dB. You're talking about the difference between, a small fan and a vacuum cleaner. That's huge. So, I mean, the H220X just has it all going for it. Plus the expandability of open loop. Like I say, there's just really nothing else quite like it. Now, if you're looking to get into liquid for the first time, you can't make a better choice. Even if you're not planning on expanding, you're getting the best, like I say, performing unit out of the box that money can buy. And it's not much more than a CLC. It's very, very small amount more. Plus, you're getting the quieter performance, with all of that added, performance, like I say. So really, absolutely astounding. So for the novice, obviously looking for the best, perfect choice. For the enthusiast, looking to do something a little bit more, but doesn't want to go into a huge loop, perfect choice. It's a great base for a small loop. Add a GPU, add a second radiator, and you're good to go. So, I mean, really, no matter which way you're looking at it, especially with $139 retail, the H220X is obviously highly recommended and a High Tech Legion Editor's Choice Award winner. And honestly, I don't think I could recommend any cooler higher than the H220X.